Welcome back, everybody, to the show this evening. Let's start with something a little bit different at the top. You have a Maga, sort of red pill, right-wing influencer named Myron Gaines, who I met and had a debate with. I'll show you moments from that from a little while ago. But he had a really interesting moment play out at one of these college campus. People can come up and confront you, which is that a former fan of his, who was a diehard fan, comes up and says, your advice, because he does a lot of this relationship, cultural advice, women, you need to get your women under control, and we gotta go get bitches and nice cars, and yeah, women suck, is maybe how I would summarize it. And you gotta be a man's man, alpha male, alpha male. It's kind of how I would summarize it. And I have a big is kind of how I'd summarize it. And this former fan says, you ruined my life for a period of time because I took your advice. And then I stopped taking your advice and my life is great. And hey, women have value. Oh, can you imagine a bombshell? But it really, it was interesting to watch play. I guess he's coming from a religious perspective. He brings up Jesus. But again, a really interesting event here.
So the reason I asked that is I've watched almost every single podcast you ever did for about a year and a half. So much so that I bought into a lot of the things that you said. And for about 2 years, it led me astray and significantly damaged my personal life, including relationships.
How did it lead you astray?
Well, you told me to go sleep with a bunch of women and date multiple women at the same time, which I did. And it significantly damaged my life. And it wasn't until I actually turned around and started listening to Jesus Christ that I was saved. Now I'm happily married. I have one child now with another one on the way, and I've never felt happier. But I felt...
Congratulations, that's good. That's really good.
Thank you. And I know you're not against that, but my concern is what you're saying to men leads them astray, because I'm a walking example of it. And I think you're significantly damaging people, and especially you're leading people away from morality. Women are not sex objects. Women are created in the image of God, and they are valuable. And they should be treated as such. Why should God give you one of his children if you don't even know how to treat them? So I think...
Yeah, so again, he's coming from a religious perspective, and I don't know what he believes on everything. I don't even know if he believes in equality, but at least from the contrast against Myron, which devalues there's this whole red pill type of ideology. And so much of what it says is things that could be fine, like you should get fit, you should be high value, whatever. But then slapped on is the way you can feel high value is if you believe me when I tell you women are low value, right? It's that distinguishment that's supposed to give you strength because you're a man, and men are the ones that really make the world go round, and women need another role. That's like the whole Myron thing, not to mention crazy anti-Semitism, and despite him being black, crazy anti-black rhetoric, etc. He just kind of hates people. I honestly think, who hurt you so often? Because I'll look at his content, I follow him ever since we met, and it'll just be every group. Don't even get him started on the gays. Oh gosh. And I'm thinking, I don't think I've heard you not go after a group. You just don't like anybody on planet Earth. And that's a really sad way to live. But alongside the sort of male advice, really interesting clip, credit to that guy for bringing that up. He also does political commentary. And so when I was on the Tim Pool program, we talked here briefly about the allegations from the right saying, first of all, they think the election is stolen, but also, even if it wasn't stolen, Democrats have done the same thing. So I was kind of pushing back against that false equivalency about how Trump actually tried to steal the election because of his fake election stealing lies. And then later we'll get to our discussion of gay marriage.
What makes them false? It's the same as Hawaii. If you want to make the argument that Democrats did the same thing in 1960, I will agree with you.
Well, we're not making that argument because that's not what they did.
This is the point. In 1960, while there was still a recount going on and ongoing court cases, and it was so narrow they really didn't know which way it was going to go. Then they didn't even submit those or try to get them counted. The sitting president at the time until it was determined. Trump's case, he got all 7 states after this whole process had been concluded. It wasn't close enough for the recount to flip it. The recounts had concluded, and he was trying to get not let's have 2 standing by because we don't know how this recount's going to go, but from 7 states that we know the outcome of, but I'm making false claims of fraud on them. I'm going to get Pence to keep me as president by accepting fake electors. Tim, for a second, because we're supposed to be debating them, I think, could they also try to defend this stance?
Yeah, because you're comparing apples and oranges thing as far as I'm concerned. That was silly. Yeah, like if a court decided in one of the 5 or 7 states that Trump tried to peddle the false elector scheme, that if a court contested the Democratic slate of electors, then I think you would have an apples to apples comparison. But that's not what happened. Yeah. In none of the 7 states.
And it wasn't close enough to where they didn't know which way it was going to go.
Right, there was no actual ambiguity.
Yeah. Andrew, anything? Myron?
Well, what's the argument here? Is it fascism, or because you guys went into a whole other
one
tangent?
Of the key
because you guys went. I don't know if you guys. It started with fascism, but we went into Kennedy election in 1960s.
I'll explain. One of the key tenets of, again, I know you'll get really triggered, so I'm trying to stay away from that particular term, but we can say fascism, authoritarianism,
is based. I don't know what
anti-democracy.
It's pretty fucking base. I don't know what the issue is, baby.
Is that legitimate or a joke? Because we can go into that. That'd be interesting.
I mean, we can go.
Now something you want to talk about fascism.
One of the key tenets is rejecting democratic principles and the democratic process.
According to who?
According to every single fascism scholar ever and the definition.
Okay. Do you mean according to who, like what determines the democratic processes?
No, I'm asking according to who.
Yeah, sure, read it.
Yeah, go ahead. So, far right, authoritative. No. Pull up Giovanni.
It's too good. I love that part so much. And I love when Myron's like, fascism's base. And I'm like, you want to talk about that? He's like, I don't know. Like, what? That's so funny, too, when people back off of something. No, he didn't back off of it, but wasn't super passionate. If I were to utter the words, fascism is based, okay? I feel like I would be so ready. Like, I would have to be so convinced that I could crush someone with that argument. Otherwise, I would never utter such a thing. Because it sounds to most people, justifiably, like you're saying, bad is good. That doesn't sound correct because it's not correct. So that was a part of my interaction. Myron didn't say a ton there, but then here, I think you hear a little bit more from him. And this is on gay marriage. I mentioned gay folks. It looks like he wants to put them in gay zones, which would be fun in the zone, let's be honest, but terrible. I mean, we'd have a party, but it would be bad, okay? It would be discrimination, but man, we have some fun. Come on.
I don't know which the slippery slope, right? Well, when we allowed gay marriage, we allowed all this other degeneracy in. And my thing is like, look, you want to be gay, you want to do that, awesome. Keep it away from the kids completely. I don't think gays should be allowed to adopt children, be around children, read drag to them, any of this stuff.
Be in public, Myron? In public?
I mean, if we're going to be all the way, I think they should have don't. Gay-only zones where they can only have PDA there. I don't think they should.
Talk about a slippery slope. Okay, but real quick, I want to do this.
We should have asked that question.
Okay. Now, he says they can do PDA. Yeah, I mean, there's certain levels of PDAs with straight and gay you shouldn't do in public. Obviously, that's not but saying that gay people specifically should go to gay-only zones. I feel like as a rule of thumb, if you find yourself saying identity group only zones, whatever it is, black only zones, white only zones, gay only zones, something's gone wrong, okay? Something's gone terribly, terribly wrong. And it's obviously disgusting, but we try to have fun nevertheless. And then here's more on it. I think this is more with Andrew, though.
Actually, no good reason, no compelling reason for secularists to get married at all. Definitely no compelling reason for homosexuals to get married. They're not going to be able to get married in Christian churches anyway. So who are they getting married by? Just the state.
There are Christian churches.
No, those aren't Christian churches. Identifying as self-ID if I'm Christian doesn't make you Christian.
Okay, you're Christian if Andrew says you are.
Go ahead.
Yeah, let me go. So you mentioned, I know some of yours is detaching from, because you're saying even marriage in general is tarnished now. But to Tim's question, marriage isn't religious when the state is the one bolstering it, right? We have the separation of church and state, so it has to be a secular concept.
Why does the state need to be involved in
even
marriage?
if it's bolstering a something that crosses over with a religious practice, which is marriage? So the state honoring a marriage, which is just a legal commitment between two people, and that's something that people who are secular also want to make. And that's the state honoring, because I do think a society is better off when people make such commitments to.
Yeah, why do you need the state for that commitment?
There's all sorts of things that the state will incentivize, even like as we try to implement some pro-family policies that give you better family.
Gay should have families.
So let me finish. Isn't that fun? It's cute, isn't it? That laugh. It's cute. It's almost as bad as this one. Not quite as bad, though. There's all sorts of things that the state will incentivize, even like as we try to implement some pro-family policies that give you better family.
Gay should have families.
So
Let me finish.
Go ahead.
Come on. And that, child tax credit, there's things that you want to support and incentivize through the implementation of policy. I think marriage is one of them. And so it can't be about whether or not it's tarnishing the religious concept of marriage, because those two things are separate concepts. Then you brought up, and I hear this
Can we
a
do
lot.
it one point at a time?
Well, you made a lot of points as well. But you brought up that marriage is believed to be a man-woman concept.
Yes.
But I feel like that's a strange thing to put your argument on, because it's just public opinion, and public opinion has shifted so radically. Like right here, is this support for same-sex marriage? Yeah, so there's actually a majority support if you want to look up there.
It shows that.
It's dropping, but you were wrong.
No, I wasn't wrong.
You were wrong that people don't support same-sex marriage, because you were saying So anyways, I've gone through these clips before, which is fun to kind of check in on the only time I was in the same room with Myron, since we're talking about him there. And yeah, the point there is your marriage to you can be whatever you want in different institutions, but with the institution of the state, creating the institution of marriage, and it been bolstering it backed by the state, then it has to be a secular concept because the state is secular. And so that it doesn't get in the way of your religious interpretation, but it also can be more expansive than just your religious interpretation. And why do I think the state should back it up and should allow for gay marriages to happen? Because just like with different sex marriages, I think it is a net positive for people, for society, for communities, when people make commitments to one another when they want to, that are strong and that build a foundation for families and for a life and wealth generation, etc. Okay, is the point there. So that was fun, and it was good to see one of Myron's ex-fans confronting him on his nonsense. Tell me your thoughts in the comments. Get the bonus show by clicking the join button below.